Paul Pigsty.
Here.
Aileen McDaff-Coleman.
Present.
Keith Batman.
Here.
Joe DeForest.
Present.
Charlie Ripley.
Present.
Joseph Bennett is excused. Elaine Daly.
Here.
Pat Mahoney.
Here.
Timothy Lattimore.
Here.
Michael Didio.
Here.
Brian Foley.
Present.
Tucker Whitman.
Here. To ask everybody to stand for the pledge in a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
On your desk, we have Lee Francis Gardner, father of David Gardner, Director of Public Works. Proclamation, we would like to call up the people for Cayuga County Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. Cayuga County Children's Health Mental Awareness Day, Thursday, May 2nd, 2019. Whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of children, youth, families today is fundamentally the future of Cayuga County. Whereas the need for comprehensive coordinated mental health services for children, youth, young adults, and families places upon our community a critical responsibility. And whereas it is appropriate that a day should be set apart each for direction of our thoughts towards our children's mental health. And whereas the Cayuga County, through a unique approach to serving children, youth, young adults, and young adults with mental health or substance use disorders, is effectively caring for mental health needs of children, youth, young adults, and their families in our community. Now therefore be it that Tucker Whitman, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and fellow legislators do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2019 to be Cayuga County Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, and urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations interested in meeting every child's mental health needs to unite on that day in the observance of such exercises as will acquaint the people of Cayuga County with the fundamental necessity of a year-round program for children, youth, and young adults with mental health or substance use disorders and their families.
For our event that will be happening on Thursday, May 2nd from 12 to 4:15 at Cayuga Centers in their training center. We encourage everyone from the community as well as youth to come participate. We'd just like to highlight at 3 o'clock we're going to have a youth panel from 6 youth from our community who will be talking about their mental health experience, what it's taken for them to access services, and kind of give a perspective from the adolescent perspective of what needs to happen from the adults in the other community agencies in our community. And this is brought on by FAST, so FAST is Families Access to Service Team, which is a multi-department collaboration in Cayuga County with mental health, probation, and DSS. So I'll leave the flyers up here. And I also included our Year 2 report. Some of you may be aware that Cayuga County is a SAMHSA recipient of a Systems of Care grant. So the University at Albany, who's our evaluation team, completed our Year 2 programmatic results. So it has some really interesting data about what is our population, who's accessing our services, and the reasons for referral. So I'll just leave this up here.
Thank you.
And if anyone's interested in finding out more about FAST services, we encourage anybody who's interested in what FAST does to attend meetings that we have every Tuesday at 11 o'clock at Cayuga County Mental Health.
Thanks.
National County Government Month, April 2019, Connecting the Unconnected. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, serving more than 300 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties provide health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. Whereas the Cayuga County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas through National Association of Counties, President Greg Cox Connecting the Unconnected initiative, NACO is demonstrating how counties deliver people-centered services to our residents nationwide. Whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of counties' responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Cayuga County provides a comprehensive array of programs and services in criminal justice, public health, social services, public works, recreation, tourism, planning, and economic development, and workforce development, among others. Now therefore be it that Tucker Whitman, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, fellow legislature, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Is there anybody here for Mental Health Awareness Month? Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2019, for Mind for Body. Mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being. All Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives. And whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions. And whereas there is a strong research that animal companionship, humor, spirituality, religion, recreation, social connections, and work-life balance can help all Americans protect their health and well-being. And whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation. And whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health or other chronic health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health awareness and support prevention efforts. Now therefore be it that Tucker Whitman, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and fellow legislators do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Cayuga County, and in doing so call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Cayuga County to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, and steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions.
Got any problems with him?
Moving along, we have no presentations. Public to be heard, Mr. Lattimore.
Yes, we have Kimberly Thompson here. Kimberly, you wanna- She has some issues with Central, and I ran into her at the Boyle Center, and for public safety, I think it's an issue, and maybe planning could maybe hear her out.
Okay, in the public to be heard, we just ask you to keep your comments 3 to 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So I'm addressing all of you today. I am a CNA, but I'm also a student, let alone a healthcare worker. I rely on public transportation to and from work and to get groceries. I also bring my residents out into the community. And currently, routes 2 and 3, which for those who don't ride the bus, is Franklin and North Street. They currently don't pull into the plaza. For the last 25 years plus, Centro has pulled into the plaza until the owner recently asked us not to. So right now, they are letting them off at McIntosh, across from Dollar Tree, and on the other side of Dollar Tree. Now, it's okay if you're able-bodied, but if you're in a wheelchair or walker, it's very hard to cross that street, let alone to board it if there's snow. And in the wintertime, there's also a slant on the road. We're asking that we reach a compromise to be able to pull back into the plaza for those who don't have a vehicle that depend on the bus to be able to frequent these shops and keep our economy growing. BOCES also takes their students out into the public, and it's part of the community. Currently, as my understanding of the violations of the ADA, as of right now, 36.201 general, 36.202 activities, 36.204 administrative methods, 36.205 association, 36.301 eligibility criteria, 36.302 modifications in policies, practices, or procedures, 36.403 alterations path of travel, 36.304 removal of barriers, 36.403 alterations path of travel, and 36.501 private suites is currently, from my understanding, the violations of the ADA code that is happening as of right now. And I would like to work with city and everybody to figure out a happy medium, and a safety issue is the prior plan. So, any questions?
I think it's been brought to our attention, so.
And I also have a petition, 152 signatures of people who either live and work in the county and or who take the bus, and I am working on getting more as well. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call on Mrs. Judy DeCane. She had some things to say.
Judy asked me to speak first. My name is Roberta Masserini. I live in Ledyard, New York. I am a wife, I am a mother, and I am a Republican, just to make that clear, if the newspaper didn't do it already. I had a resolution last month opposing the Reproductive Health Act. The legislators, in the final tally, it was defeated, and the newspaper put it in the paper. It was, I thought, a very reasonable article. Within that article, people were reaching out to me saying that we have to continue the fight. So I'm continuing the fight, and I have my warriors behind me, and I think that they'd like to speak a little bit as well. Thank you.
My name is Anna Duquesne, and I'm a registered voter and resident here in Cayuga County, and I am also a co-founder of Cayuga County Loves Life. I am here today to express my support for the resolution opposing the Reproductive Health Act. This resolution would allow for our county to voice its opposition to the bill passed by Governor Cuomo. As many of you know, this bill allows for the murder of children for any reason pertaining to health. This broad term can allow for abortions for virtually any reason up until the very moments before birth. It is widely known among healthcare professionals that late-term abortions are never medically necessary, and they pose a higher threat to a mother's health than if they were to have a C-section. Late-term abortions are typically done for the same reasons as early-term, but are masked under the term health, as if they were medically necessary. Governor Cuomo needs to hear our voice and needs to know that Cayuga County opposes the RHA bill. It was said that protecting innocent lives is somehow not an important local issue, and I'm here to tell you that our passion to condemn murder is not something that will go away quickly or quietly. We condemn abortion because innocent lives are taken daily and there's no one to speak up for them. The failure of this legislature to pass resolution and even your failure to vote on it at all has angered many of the residents here in Cayuga County, including myself. Today we are asking to see who in this legislature represents us and who does not. And our disappointment and disapproval will show in the voting booths. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Fayola, and I'm a registered Democrat from Cayuga County. I live in Auburn, and I have 5 children. And I'm here also opposing this evil law that Governor Cuomo has put into place, and all abortions, actually, not just that one, all abortions. So Cayuga County has always been a Christian county, and as Christians, we're all called to defend the weak. The weakest of the weak are the unborn. They have no one to protect them. And as a Catholic, I'd like to read to you from the Catechism of the Catholic Church what the Church teaches that our responsibilities are with the issue of abortion. 2270 in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Human life must be respected and protected absolutely from the moment of conception. From the first moment of his existence, a human being must be recognized as having the rights of a person, among which is the inviolable right of every innocent being to life. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. Jeremiah 1:5. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately wrought in the depths of the earth. Psalm 139:15. Since the first century, the Church has affirmed the moral evil of every procured abortion. This teaching has not changed and remains unchangeable. Direct abortion, that is to say abortion willed, either as an end or a means, is gravely contrary to the moral law. You shall not kill the embryo by abortion, and shall not cause the newborn to perish. God, the Lord of life, has entrusted to men the noble mission of safeguarding life, and men must carry it out in a manner worthy of themselves. Life must be protected with the utmost care from the moment of conception. Abortion and infanticide are abominable crimes. Formal cooperation in an abortion constitutes a grave offense. The Church attaches the canonical penalty of excommunication to this crime against human life. A person who procures a completed abortion incurs excommunication by the very commission of the offense and subject to the conditions provided by canon law. The Church does not thereby intend to restrict the scope of mercy. Rather, she makes clear the gravity of the crime committed, the irreparable harm done to the innocent who is put to death, as well as to the parents and the whole of society. The inalienable right to life of every innocent human individual is a constitutive element of a civil society and its legislation. The inalienable rights of the person must be recognized and respected by civil society and the political authority. These human rights depend neither on single individuals nor on parents, nor do they represent a concession made by society and the state. They belong to human nature and are inherent in the person by virtue of the creative act from which the person took his origin. Among such fundamental rights, one should mention in this regard every human being's right to life and physical integrity from the moment of conception until death. The moment a positive law deprives a category of human beings of the protection which civil legislation ought to accord them, the state is denying the equality of all before the law. When the state does not place its power at the service of the rights of each citizen, and in particular of the more vulnerable, the very foundations of a state based on law are undermined, and as a consequence of the respect and protection which must be ensured for the unborn child from the moment of conception, the law must provide appropriate penal sanctions for every deliberate violation of the child's right. My husband will finish the rest.
Mr. Chairman? One person was granted privilege of the floor. Yeah, I mean, we gave privilege of the floor to one person. I don't know if all 14 or however many of you are going to speak.
Yeah, well, not all of us, but some.
Well, I'd like to say just a couple things then. Robert Faiola, I'm Lori Faiola's husband. And one question, I read the article in The Citizen about this meeting a number of weeks ago, and the one question was, what does this resolution have to do with local politics or a local issue? But I know at our house on Morris Street, anytime anyone campaigns, when they knock on our door, we bring this issue up. And some people say, geez, what does this have to do with me being a mayor or a councilman or a sheriff or whatever, or a judge? Well, it has a lot to do with it because the unborn baby cannot speak, cannot do anything for themselves. And they're the weakest, most vulnerable person. And if someone is unwilling to protect the life of an unborn baby, whether you're a sheriff or a judge or a lawyer, then you won't get our vote because they are vulnerable and they need protection. And even though we're in a state that's very progressive and the governor will do what he wants to do, but I think it's important for us to speak for the unborn. And it's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. And in your own mind, you have to reckon, is this a human being? Is this a baby? Up until 1971, the law said it was a baby. It was a human. All of a sudden that changed. 5 people changed that. But in your own minds, locally, is it a baby? Is it a human? It is a human. It's a baby. Science proved it a long time ago. We have pictures. There's cameras. And then in this political field, the county level, we should make a voice for Cayuga County. Thank you.
My name is Judy Duquesne. I am also a Democrat. I come in peace and love and hopefully to change all of your hearts. Some of you said that the constituents of Cayuga County don't care about this issue. I'm here to say I care. I care a lot. I'm a wife. I'm a Christian. I'm a registered Democrat, a mother. I'm a neighbor, and I'm a citizen. I personally have seen abortion up close. I've been faced with the before and the aftermath of it in our very own county. I was a court advocate and counselor in this county for domestic abuse. It's important to me to identify the victims of abortion. The first victim is a sweet, innocent child that is killed in a horrific death. The second victim is the mother. The mother who suffers depression and faced with knowing that she killed her own child. My experience has been what the media portrays is not what the media portrays. A mother that has had an abortion. No, she's not shouting out, I had an abortion. She is not. I've seen this. It's actually the opposite. She lives in deep depression. She's reminded of it every day. She's ashamed. She lives in guilt and despair. Now, for all the other victims of abortion, that's all of us. Everything that goes on affects all of us. In this county, this was going on. We are all affected. The child that was killed and the mother, that was someone's mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, neighbor, coworker, church friend, our politicians, our judges, our police officers. We feel the pain in this community, and we feel the loss too. Cayuga County residents care about each other. We care about how our politicians vote. We want to be heard. We support and love each other in this county. When people are suffering or have died, we all mourn. We see our politicians at the grocery store, in church, at sporting events, our schools. We have access to our politicians. Like right now, lots of people can't do that. That's the way our community is. I can approach any of you. You might come to my door. I can talk to you. We don't have that in the big political world of our nation. You're a part of our community, all of you. And if something were ever to happen to you, our community would be there for you. A death, a celebration, a baby shower. We want to know where you stand on this issue. I want to know if you oppose the violence against the innocent, the killing of the most defenseless. I encourage you to cross party lines. We are not cold-hearted here. Let this life issue bring us closer, not further apart. This resolution is important so voters know how you will vote concerning the future life issues at hand in the county. Let's make Cayuga County the sanctuary city for the unborn and the born.
Thank you, Judy. Do any of you have anything different subject matter? I mean, we all get the message here.
She has
Something different.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Ellen Duquesne. I'm a volunteer firefighter and an EMT student. I've dedicated hours upon hours learning how to save and take care of people's lives. So naturally, I'd be a fighter for life. The Reproductive Health Act, signed by Governor Andrew Cuomo, permits abortions at any point during pregnancy. That is, if the abortionist deems it necessary for the mother's life or health. Now, health not only includes physical health, but emotional, psychological, familial, and the woman's age, which is so broad that the mother could abort the baby for pretty much any reason. New York's law allows abortions through the 3rd trimester, including up to birth. This law also removes the protection for babies who are born after an unsuccessful abortion, which means they could be left to die after birth. It is important for the Cayuga County legislators to vote on resolutions because it gives voice to the opposing viewpoints. We have to let the state know that there are voters in Cayuga County who have strong, passionate opinions on important issues, much like the fundamental human rights. This fight isn't about us. This fight is about the unborn babies. By coming here and talking to all of you, we hope to open your hearts and minds. Their lives are in my hands and in yours too. It's time for change, and we desperately need your help. Take a stand with us, and please save the babies. Thank you.
Do you have something different other than abortion?
Yes, sir. Well,
You do, other than abortion?
Yes.
Go ahead. We'll see what this one does.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished legislators and guests. I'd like to talk about whether or not, I'm sorry? Rick Duquesne. I'm a resident of Auburn. And I'd like to talk about whether it's important for the Cayuga County Legislature to vote on resolutions at all. And I maintain it's extremely important, and I've spoken to many people who agree with me. And I'll tell you why. Because it helps us to gain more information about you. It helps us to gain some insight into who you are, what makes you tick. Because we know that when you come here and you vote on various laws, statutes, ordinances, various things, that doesn't happen in a vacuum. In addition to gathering information here, you come here already with a viewpoint, with a frame of reference, with preconceived ideas that you hold to. And we know that this has a tremendous bearing on the decisions that you make here. And those things do directly affect our lives. So I think it's extremely important for you to continue to vote on these resolutions. Now, it's been said that you already know our party affiliation. That tells you enough. Well, think about it. As you drill down from the national to the state to the county and the municipal level, do legislators, do office holders always adhere to the party, the national party platform of their affiliation? No. As you come down to the county level, you're much more independently minded. We have found out here in this room in recent years, Republicans are not necessarily fiscal conservatives. Democrats are not necessarily spend and tax people, are they? Sometimes it's the other way around. So whether there's an R or a D next to your name doesn't really tell us very much about you. So continue to vote on resolutions. I encourage you. Don't hide from it. We, the people, have a right to know who you are and what we're getting when we elect you to represent us. Thank you.
Thank you all. Mr. Mahoonick.
Yes, can I get privilege of the floor for Sue Dwyer, please?
Good evening, everybody. I spoke before about the driver's license for undocumented people, and I just have one issue to bring forth tonight, just to clarify that, in fact, and I know this wasn't brought out before very clear. When an undocumented, according to the legislation, and that would be the bill, Senate Bill number 1747, the Assembly Bill A3675. In that bill, it details how we would handle those transactions at the DMV. And the fact of the matter is, the undocumented could give us a foreign document, and we would have to accept it and not ask any questions. So as soon as they fill out the license or the permit information, they would be asked, are you a U.S. citizen? And they would have to answer that. They would have the option to answer that. They should not have that option to answer that because we all know they are not a U.S. citizen. So why would they allow that question? And if they answer yes, and there is my DMV person right in front of them watching this happen, we could not ask any questions or bring anything up. The next thing would be, would you like to register to vote? And if they say yes to that, then they could register to vote electronically. All of those electronic registrations go to the Board of Elections, correct? Yeah, electronic. It's up to the Board of Elections to find out if they're citizens or not. They don't do that. They think that's already done at the board or at the DMV. So one issue I wanted to bring up about that, whether you feel if they should have them or not, the flaw in the law is that they could answer that question. They could easily fix that so they wouldn't be able to answer that question. That is what I'm asking here. Whether you believe it or not, I'm personally not for it, but some of you are, some of you aren't. But think about that. Don't say you didn't know this when this law happens, when the governor, if he signs it, because you know it tonight. What I'm asking for, at the very least, is advocate that they take that option out of there. And if you believe that, here is a letter you can write, I'm opposed to this, and you can send it to the governor. I have copies over there. We collect these pink envelopes from people. Use this envelope and address it to the governor and see how he likes that. It's right from our DMV. People don't use these. They get them in the mail and they give them to us. I think they're going to catch his attention. So if you're wanting to send a letter to the governor and just say, I'm opposed to that piece of the legislation, change that flaw, then pick up one of these and send it in to the governor. A lot of people saw this in the newspaper. They followed through and sent it to the governor, and let's send him a message to just look at that before they vote on this law. He hasn't voted on it yet. So it's in the Transportation Committee. It could pass through. He wants it to be a law, but let's bring attention to this one point.
Thanks, Sue.
Minutes to approve, March 26, 2019.
Move. Second.
Appointments.
Move them. Waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor of the appointments?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Appointments are carried.
Communications and announcements.
Move all of them too.
Second.
Such enthusiasm. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Cayuga Community College report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good to be with you all. Relatively brief this evening. Between now and the time I get to see you again at your next meeting, we'll be concluding our academic year, celebrating our students in various events and our nursing pinning ceremony and our commencement. And it's certainly hard to believe that the 18-19 academic year is about to conclude itself here in the coming weeks, and students are finishing up their classes. As always, we're diligently doing our recruiting for next year's class and bringing in more students to the college. We've had open houses on our Fulton and Auburn campus in the last month, and we've had a number of other recruitment visits from local high schools and other entities, and we continue to be focused on that. As I mentioned in previous months, we've been doing our national search for a provost position, a chief academic officer. Just recently, we've hosted 4 finalists. The search continues to be confidential, so some determinations and decisions will be probably made in the coming weeks. So hopefully next month I'll have an update as to where that search process is and where it's led us. Our capital projects continue to move forward. We have some work that's going on currently at the neighborhood house and the internal renovations for the child care facility, with hopes to be able to make a transition, in the fall time period. We've secured an architect that's helping us with the final designs and bid-ready docs to be able to go out to secure the construction components of the project to help bring that particular building to a modern state that is one that we're going to be proud of, to be able to serve children. I'm not sure if I specified this in this form. If not, it's worth repeating anyway. This acquisition is going to allow us to potentially serve between 30 and 40 more children in providing high-quality child care. We understand it's a community concern, and we understand that it's had some conversations, certainly in Cayuga County in recent months and probably years. And so certainly fitting with our mission and our vision, this facility and expansion of our services is one that we're very proud of and are going to work tirelessly to be able to get it up and open as soon as possible, to be able to serve families and meet community need. The Falcon Park project continues to go. For the multi-sport synthetic turf field. We're hopeful that project will be concluding here in coming weeks, perhaps in time for our spring sports, particularly our baseball program, to be able to utilize it. But all along, we knew that really this partnership and vision is one for decades to come, and we were going to work through this year regardless. Happy to say that our men's baseball team, which is in its inaugural season, has had some success this year. They've won several games and certainly have been very competitive. Been using a home field down in the Cortland area because that was what was most available to us, that wasn't otherwise sharing a facility with other competitors and other people giving the timing. So that just goes to really say the need that there was for the college to be able to have an adequate facility given the weather and given the opportunity to be able to get on the turf and get its season done. Because hopefully, as you can appreciate, when it comes to intercollegiate athletics, particularly spring sports, they really end in about 2 weeks. And so those of you that are familiar with your own lawns and your own fields that are out there, with the weather that we've had, we certainly would have to postpone or cancel several games without that facility. So we're fortunate to have one to be able to play on this year, and we're certainly looking forward to being able to call Falcon Park our home for many years to come in the fall. We continue to work diligently on the designs and the program specs related to the possible acquisition of the Cornell Cooperative Extension Building. Our vision, of course, is one that we've talked about before, is a workforce development center. In the process of finalizing some construction plans, we'll be able to bring those forward in the coming weeks or months to be able to really specify, not only the program that will be included, but ultimately we think the impact and most importantly the cost and how we believe it's going to be able to be funded and supported to be accomplished, whether it be in one phase or potentially multiple. And then, we certainly, when it comes to the culinary center, I know that Legislator Lattimore asked me about that before the meeting. At this point, we're awaiting 2 things. We're awaiting final approval from State Ed on the academic program itself. We anticipate that in the coming weeks. But we also are going to be awaiting the results of the DRI process and hopeful for the support after being listed as one of the priority projects for the region, and being able to leverage that funding to modify that building and get it to the point where we're ready to open it to be able to support not only our academic program, but our non-credit and community offerings that we anticipate to be able to bring there. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Durant? Thank you.
If I may, I should just add, our Board of Trustees this month, Linda Van Buskirk, our chair, is with me. They will be considering a tuition and fee schedule for next year. That tuition and fee schedule will include a proposal of a 4% increase in tuition, and we will be considering that. They'll be considering that this Thursday, and then hopefully in May, we'll be looking to have an approved budget at the college, and then in June, bring that full budget, including the tuition and fee schedule, and the rationale behind the increase, and with all the other funding that comes into it from the state and otherwise, to be able to demonstrate why it's not only necessary, but we think it's as responsible as we can be at this time. And certainly, I think you'll appreciate the overall budget is going to represent essentially a flat budget, but it's one that we've worked really hard to be able to build to make sure our services and our programs stay intact as well. So just want to give a heads up to that. You can anticipate an update on the tuition and fee schedule next month, but a full budget in June.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Were you going to come back to reports from individual legislators?
No, I'm totally skipping over you.
May I?
Just teasing.
Hold on a minute. Keith, I think Keith has something. Yeah, I skipped over you.
I just want to make sure people are aware and invite them. This Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Aurora Inn, the Future Farmers of America at Southern Cayuga School are presenting a program that is part of the Future Farmers of America state competition. One of the requirements is they have to present this program to local people, preferably the community leaders. So if anyone can come, this year's topic is manure and watershed protection. So it's appropriate. I went to 2 years ago. They did the topic for all FFA chapters was the migrant workers versus non-migrant workers, and I found their presentation to be very good, very balanced, and frankly interesting. So I look forward to this and would encourage anyone who can to attend, because I think it'll be worth attending. I don't think it'll last more than an hour, and of course you'll be in Aurora. It's a short walk upstairs to the Aurora Inn if you wanted dinner, a short walk across the street to the Fargo if you wanted something to drink, the water, soda, or whatever you might consume. So it's 6 o'clock this Thursday.
Thank you. Any other?
Can you email that to
Joe?
us?
Yes.
I wanted to give a quick, as quick as I can, update on the process of the administrator's evaluation. And I thought it was wise to cover the ground that we've covered to date, because we'll be actually discussing the evaluation in executive session. So bear with me for hopefully only a couple minutes. During the reorganization meeting in January, evaluation forms were distributed to legislators to fill out or have the options to submit their concerns in note form to be turned into their respective caucus leaders to be discussed, modified, and/or added to in caucus. The basis for evaluation was to be in Section 4, Powers and Duties as stated in Local Law Number 7 for the year 2017. It was also requested that caucuses come up with legislative goals for 2019 to use as a measure for future evaluations of the administrator. Next step was the results of the individual caucuses were turned into the evaluation committee, which was Joe DeForest, Mike Didio, Keith Batman, and Tucker Whitman, for discussion and modification. Next step was committee chair was charged with compiling review and summarization of the caucus's information and committee notes for evaluative purposes and development of goals. The next step was, after completing the summarization of legislative concerns submitted by the caucus and committee, The evaluation committee reconvened to review the summary, suggest corrections, and approve the summary to be used for the basis of the evaluation, along with goals suggested for adoption by the legislature for 2019. Next step was date was set for evaluation committee to conduct 2018 evaluation with the administrator. Date and time was for 11/19, 2 p.m. Committee members and staff to be present: Joe DeForest, Mike Didio, Keith Batman, Tucker Whitman, Mike Russell, and Justin Woods. Next step, evaluation proceeded. There were good exchanges on addressing concerns and establishing goals. The evaluation lasted about 1.5 hours with input shared by the committee and the administrator. Next step, corrections or modifications of some of the goals concerning some of the initial timelines set out in the goals are to be addressed by the leadership team. Next step, report on process to be given at the April 2019
Mr. DeForest?
legislative meeting during legislative report.
Mr. DeForest?
Yes.
I'm sitting here on pins and needles because I'm just really listening very carefully. And I just want to make sure that nothing is going to come out that indicates any of the, okay.
Nope.
Okay.
And the evaluation goals for 2019 will be presented on the projection screen and reviewed and discussed in executive session, the full ledge meeting, and then hopefully signing off legislators on hard copy of the 2018 administrator's evaluation.
Okay.
That's my job.
Careful. So, that's my report.
Thank you, Joe. I got Mr. Didio first.
I'm going to yield to Mr. Charlie.
Mr. Charlie. Mr. Ripley, you have seniority.
He's given me the floor for an update on the inter-county meeting that occurred on the 19th of April. Mr. Chuck Nesbitt from NITAC president was there to open up the meeting. It was at the Iroquois National Wildlife Refuge in Boston, New York, which was fantastic. 10,000 acres of wildlife. Borders 9,000 acres of state land. After the meeting, we, just like to, did the tour, but the results of the meeting, one thing that Mr. Nesbitt pointed out was a mandate monitor, which I have copies for the legislature. It basically says a 990 program, nine mandates that takes up 90% of the tax levy, which was incredible. In Cayuga County alone, the state mandates were $538,792. The tax levy was $23,650,000, which left $111,000 of the tax levy. That was just one of the things mentioned. And he did mention that the ground is shifting, the rules are changing, and everybody needs to be on top of the 990 program. The blank copy was for us to use at our counties so we can do the same evaluation. He notes that 63 senators, 17 which are new, 3 are from 2015, 150 assemblymen, 83 of them are new. Also note that 103 of them are from New York City area. 55 of those are new. 42 are from the north of New York City, 6 from Long Island, for a total of 103. That's basically it.
Thank you, Mr. Ripley. Mr. Didio.
I'd like to add that the Cayuga County meeting for the Intercounty of Western New York will be held on June 21st at Springside, 9:30 to
it's a Friday and it's a morning meeting, followed by lunch. The legislators are charged $20, which is in line for reimbursement. I'll give you more information as we gather and meet. Gabish?
Thank you. Mr. Foley?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to give the legislative body a quick update on the HR process that's been going on. I was one of the legislators that served on the hiring committee, the search committee, not hiring, search committee, and I want to make sure that we all have kind of the same information to work with going forward for next month. We received approximately 40 applications. HR went through those and determined that approximately 20 of the individuals were actually qualified for that. Among them, we chose to interview 7. And when I say we, it was a committee composed of myself, Legislator Bennett, the Civil Service Commission, including Bruce Sherman and Todd, and Rich from HR, and Mr. Woods, and Ann Kuberik was very helpful in that process as well. So with that said, we spent a good chunk of a Friday evening and a Saturday afternoon asking a bunch of questions of different candidates. One of the things I thought was really neat was we had a Skype interview of one of the candidates where we pulled them up on the screen, and they were from a southern state, and we were able to interview them just like a normal interview, and it was pretty cool. So after that process played out, we had 2 qualified applicants that we thought were the best of the group, and Justin's been working with them, and we're confident that we can bring forward next month one of them, and we'll be doing so. And so that's kind of where it's at. The board should be prepared for that, and I want to thank everyone that was involved because it was quite a bit of time to spend on it.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Ms. McNabb Coleman, did you have anything?
I did. I wanted to do a quick report as Vice Chair of the Owasco Lake Management Council. I attended earlier in the month the Owasco Lake Funding Request Workshop at the DEC with the Region 7 Director, Matt Marco. Soil and Water was with us, the Town of Owasco, City of Auburn, AULA, the Lake Association, and the Health Department. And together we looked at different strategies to maximize grant opportunities and applications. And along that same vein, I wanted to give an update. The Watershed Rules and Regulations draft presentation to the public will be taking place on May 15th and 16th. May 15th it will be at BOCES, and on the 16th it will be at Murrayville High School. Both events will take place at 6:30 p.m. So I encourage people to attend and find out where we are with the rules and regs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lattimore.
Mr. Chairman, I just heard Mr. Foley indicate that Stipe was involved with one of the interviews. I have a problem hearing lately, and these microphones, sometimes I couldn't hear Mr. Ripley's report, so if we can somehow improve our own technology, it would be nice. But in regards to Mr. Foley's report, Mr. Foley, was there any local candidates interviewed for that position?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Dennison.
I just want clarification. You said you're down to 2 finalists?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you bring both finalists forward to be interviewed by the full body?
It was subject to some negotiation process to see if either of them qualified. The committee thought 2 were qualified to be brought forward if they needed to, and there were still some discussions that needed to be had with the candidates themselves on if they were in favor of the salary for the position or if they could pass a background check. Justin, if you want to add something to that.
Yes, the committee narrowed it down to their two preferred candidates who we've had further conversation with. We're moving forward with one of those candidates. The commission is going to have a meeting on May 8th and formally act to make a recommendation to the legislature. We also want to invite the candidate in to meet the staff, continue filling out their interest, and then we hope to present the recommendation to the Oversight Committee in May and then to the legislature at the full legislature meeting next month. But we do have that down to one candidate who is a pretty local candidate.
Mr. Lattimore.
Mr. Chairman, I had to represent the county in your place up in Oswego regarding the NOAA, where the shipwrecks. Mr. Ripley was with me, and it was a nice affair. We're trying to build tourism with some of the dive sites that were going to be presented. And I know that you had Representative Cadco over at Fairhaven later, and I know Justin was at both events. And we had fish at Rudy's. It was good.
Any other legislators? No, we'll move on to administrator's report.
Thank you, Legislator McNabb Coleman, for reminding everybody of the watershed rules and regulations. The Planning Department and Health Department have been working really hard to support that effort, and we're really proud of the work that they're doing at the county level. Jenny Indelicato's here. As you know, she's been appointed by you to serve as compliance officer, and we continue to reinvigorate and roll out a corporate compliance program. She's been a really strategic and important partner in that. She's shown some real great leadership with the support of the other members of the Compliance Committee and Mr. Graham. We just received an award to restart and update our hazard mitigation plan, which is a joint project of the Planning Department and the Emergency Management staff. Steve's staff has always played a big role in that, and Chief Fritz from the Fire Department has also been actively involved in supporting our hazard mitigation efforts. I think Mr. Lattimore mentioned the National Marine Sanctuary, which we're very excited about the scoping process. It's a partnership and a collaboration of the 4 counties on the southern shore of Lake Ontario: Wayne, us, Jefferson, and Oswego, as well as the city of Oswego. And that was a multi-year effort. It will start with a scoping process of meetings, public meetings in each county in June. I think the meeting date for Cayuga County is the Monday of committee week. I think it's the 15th or 16th. It's going to be up in Fairhaven at the Fire Hall. We continue to work on the organizational plan and proposal for the dissolution of Lloyd Hoskins' interwoven departments and look for the plan to submit to you on that reorganization. One of the things that we talked about in the review process in terms of setting goals for 2019 is to kick off a capital improvement plan. So I've asked Mr. Gardner to work with our finance team, our legal team, our budget team, my office, and his staff to lead that initiative. And so we're working up a scoping plan and timeline for that proposal. But we have a project planning meeting kickoff for the staff in May. Mr. Ripley, I'm happy to let you know the mandate monitor that NISAC's turned out, we did submit that information to them when it was requested. So we're continuing to track and update the costs of state mandates on local taxpayers. If you recall, in the state of the county, it was one of the things that I highlighted significantly was the increase in cost of state programs at the county level and the changing requirements that we have to keep up with various programs that aren't funded. It does appear that one of the things I talked about there was the changes to early voting, which hadn't been funded, and it looks like there's been some progress on that front, and there's some money in the budget, I think, for electronic poll books and some of the other equipment that's necessary for the Board of Elections to handle that. But as you know, it's a constantly changing and evolving regulatory landscape which continuously has impacts on county governments. Mr. Didio mentioned the June 21st intercounty, and he asked me to give a talk at that on behalf of the county, which I appreciate and look forward to supporting. And I gave, our team gave a budget and finance update at Ways and Means, but I just want to highlight here that as far as the 2018 budget was concerned, we beat that budget by $2.6 million. That included both the $600,000 that was budgeted to draw from fund balance that wasn't used, as well as an increase and add to the fund balance of $2 million for a net increase to the fund balance of $2 million of the A fund, but overall $2.6 million better than the 2018 budget. So, and as you know, we have several vacancies and search committees search processes underway. Mr. Foley gave you the update on the human resource position. We are nearing the process, Mr. Petras and I, in rolling out the hiring process and the interview process for emergency management, and we hope that that will also be able to bring you a candidate for that next month. And right following on the heels of those, we'll be shifting focus to the Chief Information Officer, employment and training, and if approved tonight, the Purchasing Director position.
Search for the purchasing.
That's what I was referring to.
Any questions for the administrator? Mr. Lattimore.
I just want to say that I did send my letter to the governor in regards to Ms. Sue Dwyer's comment about the voting. In regards to the watershed rules, I would like to see no exceptions, and I think that they're anticipating exceptions, and I'd like to see the fines increased in those watershed regs and rules, like New York City has.
Anything else for the administrator? No? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As far as my report goes, I guess I'm happy to say I don't have a lot to add. You guys seem to know what's going on. Justin hit on a lot of it. Like Mr. Foley was saying, there's a lot of advertising and searching for positions and interviewing going on right now. And it all seems to be going smoothly so far. Justin and I did go up Thursday to Fairhaven. CATCO was there to look at the issues with the West Barrier Bar Pier. I think most of you know there's been some issues. It's starting to fail. They've come up with a temporary plan to kind of hold it in place for now until they come out with their permanent plan. And that being said, I did see an email from the mayor. There's been a 30% reduction in outflow over the last 2 weeks up there, and they're afraid that they're going to have a same scenario they had up there last year with the flooding. They're projecting that Lake Ontario will rise 11 inches in the next 30 days. And the high waters are certainly not helping the situation with the pier, along with a lot of other situations. So if anybody feels like reaching out to their state reps, certainly not looking good. Hopefully we don't get a lot of rain. I think that's really all I have to add. Does somebody got anything for me? If not, we'll move along. Regular monthly resolutions, 1A and 1B.
Move them.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are carried. Health and Human Services.
Yep. Health and Human Services had 16 resolutions this month. They've gone through both committees, and I'd like to offer them up as a bundle, HH1 through HH16, unless someone wants to separate something out.
Anybody want anything separated? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Government Ops.
Mr. Chairman, Government Ops has 3 resolutions. I'd like to offer 2 and 3 as a bundle. And there may be discussion on one. So,
Mr. Dennison?
Can we separate them all, please?
Yep. Separate them all. Do you want to just start at the top, Joe?
Sure.
GO1. Sir.
Fixing day and notice of public hearing on local law amending local law number 4 of 1992, changing the term of office from 4 years to 2 years for Cayuga County legislators running for the term beginning January 1, 2022, and changing the term limit for legislators from 3 terms to 14 years.
Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Foley?
Mr. Chair, Ways and Means, I motion to amend this resolution, and I think that there was a lot of discussion and some misinterpretation of what that was supposed to do.